I didn't catch my wife cheating in bed. I caught her laughing at me, mocking me, stripping me apart message by message, while I was still sleeping next to her every night. And once you see that, you don't confront, you prepare. If you've ever trusted someone completely, only to realize they were betraying you in silence, stay with me. This isn't a story about shouting or revenge fantasies. It's about patience, documentations, and consequences. A few years ago, if you'd asked anyone about my marriage, they would have told you we were solid. Not perfect, but stable. The kind of suburban, professional couple people quietly envy. 2 good incomes, a comfortable house. 2 kids, my daughter was 14 then, my son 9. We were healthy, we laughed, we had routines, we had history. I believed we were happy. That belief is dangerous because it makes you stop looking too closely. Like most couples, we hit a rough patch. Nothing dramatic, just life stacking weight on top of us. Longer hours at work, fewer shared meals, the kind of exhaustion that seeps into your bones. Our son was struggling developmentally, which added tension we didn't know how to talk about yet. The house felt louder, then quieter. Conversations shortened. Touch became incidental. Still, none of it felt like a crisis. I told myself this was normal, that marriages bend before they break. That's when I noticed the phone. She was always texting, always angled away from me, always smiling at something that wasn't happening in the room. When I asked who she was talking to, she said, "The girls." Her girlfriends. Old friends. Nothing new. I believed her. Instead of accusing, I tried harder. I left work early when I could, took on more around the house, planned little surprises, sticky notes, compliments, effort. I thought if I closed the distance, she'd meet me halfway. But the gap kept widening. The moment everything changed wasn't dramatic. No shouting, no confrontation. Just an old iPad. I was setting it up for my son when I realized it was still logged into her Facebook Messenger. I wasn't snooping, not at first. I froze when I saw the name at the top of the screen, a guy from her hometown, someone I vaguely remembered from stories. I'll call him JBC. The messages weren't explicit, not yet. But they were wrong. Timelines didn't match. Context was missing. Replies hinted at conversations I couldn't see. Inside jokes I wasn't part of. My stomach sank. Not all at once, but slowly, like an elevator dropping floor by floor. I told myself to stay calm, to watch, to understand before reacting. The next day, I took off work and spent hours fixing things around the house, projects she'd mentioned in passing. I left notes reminding her how much I appreciated her. I wanted to believe love could still fix this. That evening, she sat in the corner of the living room, smiling down at her phone. I took the iPad to my office. And that's when I watched my marriage end in real time. The messages were coming fast, faster than I could read, and they weren't just flirty, they were cruel. She was tearing me apart, my insecurities, my weaknesses, things I'd told her in confidence, things you only share with someone you trust. They laughed about me, about my body, about my effort, about my worth. There was a sexual undertone to everything. Not graphic, but unmistakable, intimate, disrespectful. And the worst part? She was deleting messages as she sent them. I scrambled to take screenshots, my hands shaking, missing chunks of the conversation as it disappeared in front of me. My heart pounded so hard I could hear it in my ears. This wasn't suspicion anymore, this was confirmation. I didn't confront her, I couldn't. I stayed at the office until she went to sleep, poured myself a drink, then another. Not to numb the pain, but to slow the spiral in my head. The next day, I told her I'd had a bad day. She nodded, distracted, already typing again. For weeks, that became my life. Screenshots, silence, drinking, detachment. The messages turned openly sexual. "I love you" started appearing, and with every word, something inside me shut down. I knew there was no fixing this. So I called a lawyer. And while I was quietly preparing to dismantle the life we'd built, she was planning a weekend away. I found out through the messages, a hotel, a visit, a spa weekend with the girls, she told me the next day, smiling, touching my arm like nothing was wrong, promising that when she got back, we'd really work on us. I told her it was a great idea, and then I started planning the day everything would change. The 2 weeks leading up to that weekend were the longest of my life. On the surface, everything looked normal. I went to work. I made dinner for the kids. I smiled when I needed to. But inside, something had shifted permanently. It wasn't heartbreak anymore, it was clarity. Cold, sharp clarity. I met with my lawyer quietly, methodically. No dramatics. No rage-fueled speeches. Just facts. Screenshots. Timelines. Options. He told me something that stuck. You don't win divorces by being emotional. You win them by being prepared. So I prepared. I had him draft a separation agreement that favored stability. My stability. She would move out. She would have weekend visitation. No child support paid by me while things were being finalized. Nothing outrageous. Just firm. Clean. Legal. At night, while she lay next to me texting another man, I stared at the ceiling and replayed every moment of the last few years. I realized how many signs I'd ignored. How often I'd blamed myself for distance she had already created elsewhere. Anger came in waves. Not explosive anger. Worse. The kind that sits heavy in your chest, tightening your jaw, burning behind your eyes. The kind that keeps you awake at 3 a.m., staring into darkness, rehearsing conversations that will never happen. I didn't want to scream. I didn't want closure. I wanted control. The day before her spa weekend, she kissed me goodbye longer than usual. Told me she loved me. Told me she couldn't wait to come back refreshed so we could fix everything. I nodded, smiled, told her to have fun. That night after she left, I sat alone in the house with the kids asleep down the hall and felt something I hadn't felt since discovering the messages. Calm. Because the next phase wasn't about pain anymore. It was about execution. The morning of D-Day, I woke up early, took the day off work, made coffee, fed the kids breakfast, everything normal, everything quiet. Then I went to the bank. I withdrew exactly half of every joint account. No more, no less. I'd already redirected my paycheck weeks earlier. I closed our money market account, split it evenly, and had her portion cut into a cashier's check. Fair, documented, clean. Then I went to Office Max. I printed everything, 75 pages of Facebook Messenger screenshots. Every laugh, every insult, every I love you. I stacked them neatly, like evidence in a case file, because that's what they were. I didn't want to go home yet. Being alone in that house felt unbearable. So I drove aimlessly until it was time. 8:30 p.m. The hotel lobby smelled like cheap perfume and artificial flowers. I stood there for a moment, steadying myself, feeling my heart thud against my ribs. I called her phone, straight to voicemail, of course it was. I walked to the front desk and asked calmly if they could connect me to JBC's room. The clerk hesitated, then complied. The phone rang 3 times. He answered. Hello? My voice surprised even me. Steady, flat. JBC, can you send my wife down to the lobby, please? Silence. I don't know what you're talking about, bro. I smiled for the first time in weeks. Okay, I said. Then I'll just call Mrs. JBC and ask her to come down instead. It was a bluff. A calculated one. I knew he was married. I knew his wife's first name. That was enough. On the other end, I heard panic. Shuffling. Muffled voices. You've got 5 minutes, I said, and hung up. 2 minutes later, the elevator doors opened. My wife stepped out. She looked startled, disheveled, like someone pulled out of a dream they weren't supposed to be having. Her eyes found mine, and I watched recognition spread across her face like a slow-moving wave of terror. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't stand up aggressively. I just gestured to the chairs in the corner of the lobby. She started talking immediately, words tumbling over each other. It's not what it looks like. You don't understand. I can explain. I held up a hand. I'm not here to argue. I placed the stack of papers between us. The things in this pile, I said quietly, are what's happening. Her face drained of color. I leaned in, my voice low enough that no one else could hear. The only way these don't end up in our daughter's hands, your parents' inbox, and the email lists of everyone we know, is if you move out immediately. She was prideful, obsessed with image, terrified of judgment. I knew exactly where to cut. She started crying, soft at first, silent tears. I slid the cashier's check across the table. This is half of the money market account. I've already withdrawn my half from the others. You'll have more than enough to get a place. Her hands shook as she picked it up. I slid the separation agreement next. Sign this. Leave it at the house when you get your things. Do you want to look through the screenshots? She shook her head without looking up. Okay, I said, standing. Go enjoy your weekend. Then I paused. And don't come back to the house. If you do, everyone gets a copy. I walked out. Behind me, I heard her brake. In the parking lot, I collapsed into my car and screamed until my throat burned. Cried until my chest ached. Rage and grief and relief poured out of me all at once. But when I drove home, something felt different. For the first time since this began, I wasn't reacting. I was in control. She thought it was over. It wasn't. Not even close. I turned my phone off that night. Not on silent. Not face down. Off. The house was too quiet when I got home. The kids were asleep. Their doors cracked just enough to remind me why I was doing all of this. I sat at the kitchen table long after midnight, staring at the separation agreement copy my lawyer had given me, listening to the hum of the refrigerator and the ticking of the clock on the wall. Every tick felt deliberate now. The next 2 days passed in fragments. I don't know what she did that weekend. I didn't ask. I didn't want to know. What I did know was that my phone, when I turned it back on Monday morning, looked like it had been possessed. Missed calls, dozens of them. Voicemails layered on top of each other. Texts ranging from panicked to pleading to furious to apologetic, sometimes within minutes of each other. I didn't respond. By Monday afternoon, movers were in my driveway. She didn't come inside. She stood on the lawn, arms wrapped around herself, watching strangers carry her life out in boxes. When she finally handed me the signed separation agreement, her hand trembled. I just want to talk, she whispered. Now's not the time, I said, and for once that was true. I let her speak to the kids before she left. The standard script: Mommy and Daddy need some space. We both love you. This isn't your fault. I stayed out of the room, leaning against the hallway wall, listening to my daughter's voice crack and my son ask questions no 9-year-old should have to ask. That night, after the house was quiet again, the weight finally hit me. Not heartbreak, responsibility. Because revenge doesn't end at confrontation. That's just the opening move. The following weeks were a blur of logistics and emotional landmines. She wanted to have a real conversation. I delayed. She wanted to explain herself. I deflected. She cried. She apologized. She promised it was over with him. Promised it meant nothing. Promised she'd do anything, except undo what she'd already done. I agreed to counseling not because I believed in reconciliation, but because I understood optics, time, positioning. Counseling gave me 3 things I needed: time to emotionally detach, proof that I was trying, and a paper trail showing I was cooperative and stable. 3 nights a week she came over to cook dinner for the kids, cleaned the house, did their laundry. I made myself scarce, ate later, slept early. Watched her slowly try to reinsert herself into a life she'd already burned down. At counseling, she unraveled. She cried. She blamed stress, loneliness, validation, childhood trauma. The therapist nodded sympathetically, turned to me. How does that make you feel? I gave them nothing. I'm hurt, I said. I'm confused, I'm trying. And that was all I ever gave. Inside, though, I was building something much colder. I went to my own therapist and was diagnosed with depression and PTSD. The sleeplessness, the hypervigilance, the emotional shutdown, it all had names now. I requested part-time work to focus on recovery. My job didn't push back. Another small piece fell into place. 6 months in, I sat her down and delivered the line I'd been practicing. "I can't forgive you right now," I said quietly. "I want an amicable divorce. But you're still the love of my life. Maybe someday, when we've both healed, we could try again." It was cruel. It was strategic. And it worked. She agreed to the divorce under one condition, that I promised not to close the door forever. I promised. Then came the most delicate part, the kids. I never spoke badly about her. Not once. I didn't have to. I left breadcrumbs instead. A Google search left open on the shared computer. How to survive your wife's infidelity. Articles printed and accidentally left on the counter. Quiet sadness, late nights, long silences. My daughter found them first. She came to me shaking, eyes red, asking questions I didn't want to answer. I told her the truth, but softly, carefully. I protected her mother where I could, but I didn't lie. Her pedestal shattered. From that moment on, she barely spoke to her mother without anger. My son followed his sister's lead. Kids always do. When the court asked where they wanted to live, they didn't hesitate. With me. In the house they'd grown up in. When the divorce finalized, the outcome looked almost unreal on paper. I got the house. Primary custody. Child support. Generous, due to the income shift from my part-time work. She lost residency, lost control, lost the narrative. And she never fully understood how. 2 years passed. 2 quiet, devastating years for her. For me, stability. I lived in the house with my kids. I worked part-time. I healed. Slowly. Deliberately. When she took the kids on weekends, I reclaimed pieces of myself I'd buried. Friends, dates, laughter that didn't feel forced. To my kids, I was the calm one. The steady one. The parent who stayed. To her, I was the ghost of a future she destroyed. She still came over sometimes. Sometimes for the kids. Sometimes not just for the kids. She always asked the same question afterward. "Do you think someday?" I always gave the same answer. Maybe. And that was the most powerful lie I ever told. There's a moment after you win a long, ugly war that no one really talks about. It's not relief. It's not joy. It's not even satisfaction. It's silence. The kind of silence that settles in once everything that needed to break finally has. 2 years into the divorce, nothing dramatic was left to happen. No court dates, no arguments, no revelations, just the long echo of consequences playing out in real time. She aged fast. Not physically at first, but emotionally. The confidence she used to wear like armor was gone. Her voice carried hesitation now. She asked permission instead of assuming. She flinched when my tone changed even slightly. The woman who once mocked me in private messages now measured every word like it might explode. The kids noticed it too. They were older now, wiser. They saw who showed up, who remembered schedules, who listened instead of defended. Their loyalty wasn't something I demanded. It was something she lost. And that loss weighed on her more than the divorce ever did. She tried to reclaim ground. Family dinners, nostalgia, apologies layered on top of apologies. Sometimes she cried. Sometimes she laughed too hard, trying to recreate moments that no longer belonged to her. But time doesn't rewind for people who step out of their own lives. It moves forward without mercy. The sex. That part confused people when they found out. Friends, therapists, even her, therapists. Even, they asked how I could do that. How I could let her into my bed when I'd already decided she'd never have my life again. The answer was simple. Because intimacy without power isn't intimacy, it's dependency. And she was dependent now. Every time she reached for me, it wasn't about love, it was about reassurance. About touching something familiar because everything else had collapsed. About proving to herself that she hadn't lost everything. But she had. I never chased her. I never initiated. I never promised. I let her come to me. And when she left, I went back to my quiet life with my kids, my routines, my future that no longer included her. In her eyes, I became the man who got away. In mine, she became a lesson. There was one night, just one, where she finally asked the question she'd been circling for years. What did I do that made you stop loving me? We were sitting on opposite ends of the couch. No tension, no anger, just exhaustion. I thought about lying. I thought about sparing her. I didn't. You didn't make me stop loving you, I said. You made me stop trusting you. And once that was gone, love didn't have anywhere to stand. She cried quietly, not dramatically, just the kind of crying that happens when someone finally understands that there is no fixing what is broken. After that, she stopped asking. The visits became less frequent, the calls shorter, the hope faded. And one day, without ceremony, she stopped coming over for anything other than the kids. That was the real ending, not a fight, not a confrontation, just acceptance. Today, if you asked her what happened, she'd probably say the divorce ruined her life. If you asked my kids, they'd say it saved theirs. And if you asked me, I'd tell you this wasn't a revenge story. It was a control story. She thought cheating was the betrayal. It wasn't. The betrayal was thinking I wouldn't notice, thinking I wouldn't adapt, thinking I wouldn't learn the rules fast enough to win quietly. I never yelled. I never exposed her publicly. I never burned bridges. I let systems do the work. I let time do the damage. I let her choices speak louder than my anger ever could. People imagine revenge as something explosive, but the most devastating kind? It looks like maturity. It sounds like cooperation. It feels like patience. It's letting someone destroy themselves while you simply stop standing in the way. I got my house, I got my kids, I got my peace. And she got exactly what she earned. Not because I took it from her, but because she gave it away. If you're listening to this and you've been betrayed, truly betrayed, hear this carefully. You don't need to scream to win. You don't need to expose everything to feel justified. You don't need closure from the person who hurt you. Sometimes the cleanest revenge is survival, stability, and the discipline to play the long game. Because when the dust settles and the noise fades and everyone else has moved on, you're the one still standing. If this story hit close to home, if you've ever been underestimated, dismissed, or betrayed by someone who thought you'd fold, make sure you're subscribed. This channel isn't about rage. It's about consequences, and the kind of revenge that doesn't announce itself until it's already over. Some stories don't end with shouting, they end with silence, and that's when you know you've won.